going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I am so excited for today's episode because we're going to be starting our microgreens. That's right, we're going to be starting our microgreens. It's going to be a continuation of our microgreen and sprout series here on the channel. I really hope you guys are going to enjoy it, so let's get right on into it. Alright, so we're going to be starting our broccoli today, which is the first microgreen that we're going to be starting. And so I wanted to kind of walk you through the different steps to getting your microgreens started. So really excited about this because this is definitely one of the things I've been looking forward to, man. I really wanted to get my microgreens started. So now that Christmas is out of the way, and hopefully you all had a great Christmas, by the way. Now that Christmas is out of the way, a lot of the holiday chaos is done, meaning I can focus on getting my microgreens all set up. So no interruptions. I can just cycle them all through. So, because ideally what's going to happen is I'm going to start some today, and then in about 2 more days, I'm going to start some more. And about every 2 days, I'm going to start a couple flats of microgreens, meaning that by the time I'm done with the entire unit, I'll actually be able to start harvesting from the first stuff that I started, being the stuff I'm starting today. So it'll be a full cycle rotation. So I'm really, really excited about that. I had a lot of questions about what we're using for our trays. So these trays here, it's pretty bright down here, so unfortunately I can kind of tell by the viewfinder it's kind of really harsh. But these are just some trays here that are roughly the size of a flat. And by the way, a flat is just a unit size that people use in the greenhouse industry, you know, the nursery industry. A flat is basically a dimension that will hold a specific amount of plants. So there's like 42 cell flats, there's 72 cell flats, there's 288 cell flats. It's basically how much will fit in about this much area here. And so the cells basically, the more cells you have, the smaller the cells are, because the flat size does not change. Hopefully that makes sense. So, because I was using that word a lot, flat, you know, and people say, what is a flat? What do you mean? So, so these are about the size of a flat, but these are not used in the greenhouse industry. These are used in the food service industry, actually. These were just being thrown out at a local high school. They were throwing these out because every once in a while they'll replace them. And these are used for just keeping food warm. These are just like food trays, I guess. And so I got these from our local high school cafeteria, but you can use something like this if you can find them. But regardless of what you're using, you can find some they're called holeless seed trays. They're just basically about 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep. Those are actually what is more commonly used for sprouts and microgreens. It's just these were free and they're identical to what I would have gotten. So these are going to work. But whatever you use, regardless if it's this or something you're DIYing or something you're buying, it's got to be shallow. Don't get something really deep. And the reason why is because the deeper you have it, the more soil you're going to use, meaning the more soil you're going to waste. You can repurpose the soil, but it's not really typically done because once you grow some microgreens, the root mass gets so dense in here because of how much you're growing in a small square footage that really you're better off to just kind of compost it and start with fresh soil. The ideal depth for me is right around 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep. You don't need that much soil. In fact, I'm not going to start them. I'm not going to use up this entire tray here. I'm actually only going to fill it maybe about 1/2 to maybe 3/4, and then that is it. So I'm going to get about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of soil in here, and that's really it. That's all you're going to need to start your seeds. A very shallow growing bed of soil. So again, the soil we're using is just ProMix. I've pre-moistened this because one of the secrets to getting really even consistency with your microgreens is having even soil moisture and not burying the seeds. I know it seems really counterintuitive, but honestly, the more you bury your seeds, the more inconsistencies there are, and the more inconsistent the sprouting will be. And so if everything is sitting right on soil surface and it's nice and damp, the seeds will sprout and you'll basically have a very even an even plane that you can cut on so that you harvest more efficiently and things grow more efficiently as well. So just some things to take into consideration. But that's really all that we're doing. It's super easy. So coming in close, let's get these seeds started and let's get growing. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just going to fill up this tray, like I said, about halfway. You don't need that much soil in here. So I'm just going to put it in, and don't put it in and pack it down. Make sure it's just level. That's really all I'm doing. I'm just kind of leveling it out. But keep it in loose, because here's what you're going to do. You're actually going to spread your seeds down, and then you're going to patch your seeds and put them and actually press them into the growing medium. That way they're right on soil surface, but they're going to be making good contact with the soil below. And this is how you're going to get really good even germination. I've seen a lot of people take trays and actually set a tray right on top. You could take like an empty tray. You could take like an empty tray and set it right on top like this, and they'll do that for the first couple days, kind of lifting it off periodically to see if there's sprouts, and then when they see sprouts, they take it off. That you can do that, but because I don't have a lot of these trays, I'll just be simply relying on even soil moisture and watering it pretty consistently, about every other day to every day, maybe if I need to, and I'll just come down here and mist the surface with water, and that way there will be really good even germination. And now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my seed, and then what I want is I want about 1 ounce of seed per square foot. This seems really dense, but you know what? It's better to be more dense than it is to not be dense enough. And it seems really counterintuitive, but it's true. The denser you are, the better your microgreens will be. This is because when they're really small, you want them to actually be leggy. Again, it seems very counterintuitive, but the leggier they get, to a certain extent I should say, the healthier the microgreens will be, because they're actually stretching for that light, and what they're doing is they're elongating their stems without growing a whole lot. And then what happens is you're going to harvest them, and you're going to get a whole lot more nutritional value per square foot because they're supporting themselves. If you had one really leggy plant growing up, it's going to fall over. But if there's 100 leggy plants in this area, they're going to fall over, but they're only going to fall over so much before they fall over on another one. And that means they're going to really support themselves, get nice and tall, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches tall, before you go and cut them. So that's why having this amount of seeds is very important. And that's really all you want to do. And then the final thing is just press them in. Just pressing them in, make sure there's really good contact with that growing medium. So one of the things that is brought up about why people wouldn't do microgreens is because it's wasteful on seed. And the definition of wasteful, it's not necessarily not true, but I don't think it's wasteful. Wasteful, in my opinion, means it's being thrown out and it's not being utilized to its fullest potential. I personally don't find microgreens to be wasteful, while they do use more seed than growing them out to their full adult form. Absolutely, I don't think it's wasteful because you're not throwing the seed out without actually using it. You're growing it and you're consuming it, so therefore it's not wasteful. Where it could be conceived as wasteful is that one broccoli seed can grow a 2-pound head of broccoli, whereas we're using maybe 700, 800 seeds in this area here, and we're not getting, we might only get about 1.5 pounds to maybe 2 pounds if we're lucky of microgreens out of this space. So you're using a lot more seed, but you're growing in a much smaller area as well. And my counter to that is that while it does use more seed, would you have used that much seed anyways? Let's say you did buy a packet of broccoli seed and you put that seed out in the garden. Do you really have space for 650 to 700 broccoli seeds? If you have several hundred acres and you want to grow, all those plants out, then great, go for it, absolutely. But the fact of the matter is that most people will buy a packet of seeds, they'll plant 10 or 15 seeds in their garden, and the rest of the seeds will generally go to the bottom of a shoebox, never to be seen again. And in my opinion, that's equally as wasteful. So if you can turn that into food, why not, right? And so, it's just a way of thinking. And also, we don't have the luxury of growing outdoors right now. This is really all I can do. And would I rather grow food for my family in my own home with the resources that I can find, or go to the store and support a supermarket model that really relies on using the use of chemicals and pesticides and herbicides and trucking a product hundreds, if not thousands of miles across the country that is probably going to be thrown out if it's not 100% perfect. It's a far more wasteful model at the supermarket, and this is producing food only feet from my kitchen. So again, it's really all about perspective. I don't necessarily see a problem with this, but I also am not blind to the realities that yes, it does use more seed than growing it out to full maturity. If I lived in some place like California and I could grow food 365 days a year, my personal preference would be to grow the full thing. But you also can't deny that the return, the time it takes to get a return on my effort is also much quicker with microgreens. It might take 65 to 70 days to get a full head of broccoli, but you get broccoli sprouts within maybe a week to a week and a half. So it's a much faster turnaround time to produce food for my family. So there's also that component as well. So there's a lot of reasons to do them, but you really do have to just assess your pros and your cons and kind of what you value most. I'm by no means saying that everyone should be doing microgreens, but I do think that everyone should be producing at least some form of food for their family, without having to necessarily go to the store for everything. I think relying on the grocery store is one of the most dangerous things that you can do, because if you put 100% of your trust in someone else for your food, and you don't learn how to grow your own food, regardless of what type of food it is, you're beholden to whatever they serve you. All right, that should just about do it. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna start these 2 trays that I started. I'm gonna start them, and then in 2 more days, I'm gonna start 2 more trays. And we're kind of gonna do that and just kind of see how that works out. I will bring you all along for this journey as always. So it's hard to say if that'll be a good amount of time in between. I might have to lengthen it, I might have to shorten it, but ideally I want to have all 20 trays growing food at some stage. Ideally, by the time I'm done with the 20th tray, or the 19th and 20th tray, I want to have this tray ready to start consuming. So that's kind of the end goal. I might have to lengthen, I might have to shorten it, but we'll kind of play that out. So it'll be very interesting. So as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to try growing some microgreens. Give it a shot. Let me know how it goes, and also let me know if you are endeavoring in this journey on Instagram and Facebook. Share pictures. We'd love to hear from you. And that's all I got for you today. As always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. We'll catch you all later. See ya.